Welcome to Yeukai Business Show. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions, helping business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yeukai Kachidori.
Hi guys, welcome back to another very special episode, and today with me is a dear friend of mine, Tracy Gold, who has done incredibly well for herself when it comes to YouTube promotion. In fact, I'll let Tracy tell you more about that in a moment. But listen, if you're joining us for the very first time, you're in the right place, because we bring you some of the best individuals in the world, people who are playing the game of life at a higher level. And today is no different. Tracy is going to show you how she has managed to turn her YouTube from 600 subscribers to over 20,000 subscribers in a very short space of time. So take notes. I will be doing the same here and apply something for your business today. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
You know, Tracy, when I received your profile from my assistant mentioning some of your achievements, I thought we have to have you on the show, and specifically for the summit coming up, so you can share your knowledge with our audience here.
Thank you so much. I'm very passionate about video and how video can help to really promote and transform people's businesses. It's a very powerful medium.
Yes. Now, I know you've done quite a bit of stuff, but for those who are yet to come across your work, please introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm a personal stylist, a YouTube fashion influencer, and a QVC presenter. And, you know, my focus on YouTube is to share fashion tips for women over 40, because I found a market where women were kind of underserved in a way and not really being spoken to. And yeah, I'm just really, really passionate about sharing fun and practical tips that makes fashion fun for women, as opposed to something that they feel very intimidated by or just feel like it's just too much trouble and time intensive to do. And yeah, so I do quite a bit on YouTube, but I also work with brands, I work with brand collaborations, and then recently I was hired by Katy Perry to represent the shoe collection on QVC, which that was a real highlight. That was really exciting. And then COVID hit, so that's all been put on pause. But you know, it will resume when it's time.
Incredible. I love how, you put it so mildly. You be working with celebrities, and you put it nicely like that. It shows how well you do your work, because before they hired you, they had to look at your work that you've been doing on YouTube, your style, and all those good things that you do. And then they decided that you can represent them.
Yeah, so, QVC the way it works is that they vet their presenters. So I went for an audition and I'd sent my YouTube links to them. I created a reel as well that was a combination of a couple of different clips from my YouTube stuff. And that got me the audition. And then I auditioned and I was vetted, is what they call it. I was selected to be a host, a guest host. And then that puts me on the QVC books. So essentially what happens is that when a brand is selling on QVC, they need representation. So you have your host, the woman or the person who tells you about the price of the item and, 3 easy payments, etc. And then you have the guest host, which is me, who will say, oh, and so you can wear this with a pair of jeans, or you can put it with a lovely dress, so it's the styling aspect of it. And it's really relational selling, which is my absolute favorite thing. I love to do that. It's conversational. It's very spontaneous. It's not scripted. And, this really fitted in with what I love to do. And so, QVC then vetted me. And then when the Katy Perry team needed representation, they sent them a couple of different tapes and they contacted me directly. And when I went to meet with them, they were like, okay, we want you to do what you do on YouTube. We want you to speak to your audience the way you speak to your audience. And really that's one of the big reasons why I started YouTube. I didn't start it to be a YouTube influencer. I started it to be on TV.
Wow, incredible. Well, one of the reasons we have you is really to talk about niching because when you moved to the US, you discovered that a particular segment of ladies was not being served, so to speak, and you took it upon yourself to deliver the goods. And you
Yeah.
use niching.
Mm.
Can we talk about that very briefly?
Yeah. So actually, I realized, I started my YouTube channel, I think around 2015, I think as far back as then. But it took me until 2017 to realize that I wasn't reaching my audience. And I was still living in South Africa at the time. And so, for those of you who don't know, South Africa is a little bit behind as far as technology is concerned, and Wi-Fi, internet is a bit more expensive than it is here in the US and not as readily available. But I could see from my analytics that the women who were watching me were predominantly from the US, and they were women over 40. And so I actually didn't know how to reach them, to be honest with you. I had no idea. I knew that my channel had potential, and I knew that my messaging was right, but I didn't know how to reach them. And so then I decided to do some training, and I did some online courses, and I did some very in-depth training on YouTube. And one of the big things that I learned was how important it is to niche down. And so they say that if you're trying to reach everybody, you're going to reach nobody. And especially when you're starting out, you want to niche down so that you can grow your market that way, and then you can expand it if you need to. And that's when I decided to focus on women over 40.
Wow. Two things there that stands out for me is you were looking at your analytics. You were looking at the feedback is to see who need your service. In fact, over the summit, this is one of the things we will be talking about, for people who are reinventing themselves and want to brand themselves or come back to business following the pandemic. That they need to learn this concept of niching, really targeting their ideal customer. Now, I know we will get to the ins and out of YouTube, but can we spend some time here on niching at how, other than looking at analytics, what else did you look at that made you decide you want to serve this particular group?
Yeah, that's a great question. I had been running my own business since 2003. Right. And I'm also a designer. And so I looked at who were the women who were drawn to me. As a stylist, I did a lot of makeovers. I sold a lot of clothing. And so I looked at that market. And then I also I did a lot of competitive analysis. So I looked for the other channels that were focusing on women over 40, and there were very few of them. I mean, really, it was in 2017 when I started niching down to that market, there was very little. There was maybe one or two. And so I thought, okay, that's a good thing too. There needs to be somewhat of a market. If there's nothing there, then it's a little bit concerning. But if it's an underserved market, then that's somewhere you could really make an imprint and become known in that particular niche market. And then I also looked at, one of the things, Yeukai, that you and I spoke about before this interview is that I was looking for other blogs and online magazines that catered for women over 40 in the realm of fashion. And I couldn't find them. So I could find, a Who, What, Where and a Refinery 29, and these are catered more to a younger market. But I was thinking, just because we're over 40 doesn't mean we don't wear clothes anymore. And it certainly doesn't mean that we don't want to look good. But I have to also just tell you that it was a time of reckoning for me, because when I first decided to niche market, I was playing in this space and I was like, I don't know, where am I going to go? And I remember it was like it came at me like right between my eyes. And I was in dance class, completely unrelated. And there I was Zumba-ing, and I was having a good time. I was dancing. And suddenly this message came to me, boom, right between my eyes, focus on women over 40. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, because a lot of people think I'm younger than I am. And even at that stage, also people thought I was younger than I am. And so I thought, well, then I'm going to have to tell people my age. I'm going to have to be open about it, and I'm going to have to be okay with it. And, the wonderful thing is, and this is a great story for women to hear, is that when I did really just go, okay, So I am over 40 and I'm going to embrace this thing and I'm going to do it with fun. I really started to enjoy it. And I started to feel like, hey, this being over 40 thing is actually very cool.
Yeah. It's amazing because you can identify with women over 40. So it's like you're saving yourself in the process.
Yeah, because I think, look, especially in this realm, I had watched videos of stylists speaking about women over 40 and they were in their 20s. And, I just know because I have spoken to so many women, I've consulted with so many women. And this is also interesting, Yeukai, where you're talking about, how do you know to niche? Is to speak to people, to find out what the needs are. Mm-hmm. And often women over 40 will look and say, no, she doesn't have a clue what she's saying. Now, it is still a little tricky because women over 40 could mean women in their 70s or women in their 60s or women, and I don't know what it's like to be 60 or 70, but I definitely wouldn't be able to do a channel women over 50 because I'm not over 50, or women over 70 because it would seem pretentious. And when people ask me, they say, oh, well, what about a channel for women over 60? I'm like, yes, that's great, but I'm not over 60. So I have to be as inclusive as I can, at the same time be real, because I think that that's the thing about your branding, is that it's very important that your messaging is real, especially if you are the front person of your brand. And if people are going to relate to you, then they want to relate to a real person. And I think that is especially more important after COVID. I feel like COVID has forced us to take off our metaphorical masks and put on the real ones. And what that's meant is that we need to be more real with one another. We actually want human connection more now than ever before.
This is so true. I loved, what you've mentioned there, that you were looking at the competitive analysis, you're looking at the blogs, and you were looking at areas that you are comfortable, in serving people. And all those plays a part in niching. One of the things I've discovered personally is when you're comfortable in supporting your customers, they feel it. And they will respond to it as well. What has been your experience?
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, what I find interesting is that with YouTube, women would put their comments on it, and then they would be surprised that I'd actually reply to their comments, and I'm actually reading their comments. And I think that's also part of it. Whatever platform you use, you want to engage with your audience. And in my experience, it's only going to last if it's real for you. So if it's something that you're pretending, if it's a personal brand that you're creating that isn't you, it's not going to be sustainable for the long term. Now, sure, there will come times when you go through changes. I mean, I've been through changes. I don't do as much on YouTube now. I'm focusing a little bit more on Facebook Lives, but still it's important because I am still the same person. And so my audience can grow with me, but it's really important that I think it's very important to be yourself and to be in integrity with yourself when you're pitching yourself as a brand. If you're pitching a product, it may be different, but if you're pitching yourself, it really needs to be integrated and real.
Absolutely. Wow, incredible. Let's talk about some of the mistakes that you probably have seen people do when they are trying to niche down or identifying what area to serve. Any comments on that?
Mistakes. I'm just trying to think. I think, one of the tough things is that sometimes you don't know what your niche market is until you play around and find something.
True.
It's sometimes you have to go a little broad. Like when I first started, I was doing fashion tips for women in general, and that was way too broad. And then I went to women over 40, and then my channel blew up. And then I even further niched down a little bit for a while and focused on women who were short, who were over 40, because I had a video that had reached over 650,000. It was my most viewed video. It still is my most viewed video on my YouTube channel. And it was a filler video. I mean, I didn't plan it. I didn't think, oh, wow, now this is the video that's going to do it. That's really going to blow up. And so then for a while, I then focused on women who were short. And then I'd hear women say, okay, well, can we hear some other stuff now? And so maybe that's an example of sometimes to really just look at the feedback, get the feedback from your viewers, and don't be afraid to play around and try some things. And I think as long as it's within your wheelhouse of expertise and you're still passionate about it, that's fine. And you'll find your niche. You'll find where your market is. Because not all of us, I certainly didn't have thousands of dollars to go and do huge amounts of market research to find my market. I had to find it through trial and error. And I think that sometimes people are too afraid to play and they just want to know the answer straight away. Well, sometimes we don't know the answer straight away.
One of the things I have personally discovered, even in my own business, is adapting to changes is absolutely the key. And any business that does not adapt gets left behind. If you look, for example, the brand Nokia, there was one point when it was the household name. But they're not anywhere on the market. I don't know what happened, but I would just assume maybe because they did not adapt with times. So, for anyone who is looking to grow their business or even come back, reinvent themselves, is really important to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting, especially now. I think adapting and changing our businesses to suit what's happening now is absolutely imperative. It is also sometimes hard to adapt because everything is very uncertain. And for me, I have found I've had to try some things and see whether it works, and then it hasn't, and some have and some hasn't. I've had to relook at how I do things. I've had to relook at it, like as a designer, so I'm a designer. And the clothes that I was designing pre-COVID is different to what I'm designing now, because as women, our needs have changed. Many of us are working from home. We now have become so used to being comfortable. We definitely don't want uncomfortable clothes, but please can we get out of our sweatpants? So I think, and I know, like, even the content, the type of content that I've done recently, whether on YouTube or on Facebook, yes, I don't want to ignore the fact that COVID has happened, but I also don't want to focus too much on that. So yes, COVID's changed things, but hey, let's look at the positive of something. Let's talk about how we can get excited about our fall look. Let's talk about something that's a little bit more uplifting. So it's always a bit of a balancing act. And I think adjusting and being prepared to play in this space is really good, but always look for feedback, because feedback will definitely guide you.
Absolutely. Let's switch gears for a moment and talk about the actual YouTube. What do you do there? What makes people want to come to your YouTube, and some advice or tips you can give to those who are listening and who are looking to reinvent themselves.
Yeah. Well, I think definitely we've spoken about niche marketing to understand who it is that you're speaking to, yeah. And then to look at what problem are you solving for them? What are their pain points? So if they have questions, how are you answering their questions? So in many cases, like some of my most popular videos are like how to hide your tummy, how to find the perfect pair of jeans, how to find the perfect dress, how to dress when you're short. A lot of the how-tos, and those are taken from the questions that I get from my clients, the things that women are asking me. And so I think if you can, as much as possible, be in touch with your audience, whether that be your one-on-one clients or the potential audience that you hope to serve, and to speak to as many of those kind of people as possible, find out what their pain points are, and then find a way of providing for them. I think the other thing to realize about YouTube is that, and this is the case with any social media platform, is that it changes all the time. So, when I grew my channel from 2017, to 2018, 19, that was a really good time for women over 40. Since then, it's kind of exploded. It's an exploded market and it's pretty flooded. So I've looked at other ways of doing it. I think it's important to know that platforms are going to change, and you may get great success on one platform for a while, and then you may need to switch to something else and try something new. It's just, and not to take that personally. It's very hard though. Like, I went through a process of that, but it is very hard. but know that algorithms just change. It's just how it is. And I think what's very important is to be able to adapt, like we said, to the times, adapt to what is happening and where your audience is and what needs to happen. For me, I'm finding Facebook Live to be very effective. They're liking, my audience is loving the spontaneity. The other day I decided I was just going to do a video. I mean, I have video equipment and I have lights and I have all that kind of thing, but I decided to do a very spontaneous one. Hey, I've been sitting at my desk, I'm ready to go out and I'm going to get ready. Come get ready with me. And I showed them that I was wearing my socks then. It was totally spontaneous. And like, I didn't have any makeup on and I quickly put my makeup on and I almost dropped my phone. But they loved it. You know, who would have thought, right? Like normally you would think, oh, the high production value, the really well curated script. No, they just wanted the spontaneous thing. And then I think the other thing, Yeukai, and this is very, very important whenever you're going to work with anything to do with social media, because it is a insatiable appetite. Like you can just kill yourself over creating content, is to know your why. Why are you doing it? What are you getting out of that? How is that going to help you grow your business? And what is the call to action that you want people to take? That is one of the things that I feel like I didn't do as well as I could have, is right in the beginning, getting them to get onto my email list, like right in the beginning, because that is something that I own, whereas YouTube subscribers, I don't own them.
This is true.
I have no way of accessing them, you know? So I think it's very important to know your why, because sometimes you're not going to feel like going on camera. And your why will help you get through.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to take you back to a point which you made there, which sort of like, stood out for me. It was you did something very spontaneous and your audience responded to that very well. There seemed to be a trend in that. What's your take on, having massive production or just being real with what you have?
Yeah, I think there's space for both, but I also think it depends on what you're trying to achieve. So for me, I don't put that spontaneous, crazy, almost drop my phone stuff on YouTube, because YouTube is almost like it's like my portfolio essentially. It shows me presenting at a higher level. Whereas on Facebook, I can play around and have some fun. So I think choose your platform, but I think there is validity in both. And I think it's worthwhile playing. That's why I'm saying sometimes just move out of your box and try something that you would normally never try. I mean, obviously within reason, maybe don't go tell your deepest dark secrets on social media. I mean, being yourself doesn't mean you have to reveal everything about yourself. Let me just say that, because a lot of people are very nervous about that. They think that being real means that they need to say everything, or they need to, if they're having a bad day, pitch up and say, "Oh, I'm having a bad day." Mm-hmm. You don't need to say you're having a bad day if you don't want to say you're having a bad day. But I do think that, and especially now, during COVID, I look at how Instagram changed. Instagram was very much about, oh, this is me in my fantastic life, having this great meal at this wonderful restaurant with my fabulous boyfriend or husband, wearing this gorgeous outfit. Well, now it doesn't matter what you say. We all know we're at home wearing sweatpants. I'm talking about during lockdown, right? Like we were all in the same boat. And in fact, there was quite a pushback where brands were trying to, get dressed up at home. Well, that's kind of pretentious because none of us were doing that. Now it's maybe a bit more appropriate. Now that we realize, okay, this is the new normal and how are we going to manage this and that kind of thing. Now maybe that would be more appropriate. So I think it's really about playing. I was surprised. I didn't think that video was going to do that well, but it did. Yeah. And so then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do more of them.
Wow.
And they're easy for me to do,
And they're quick. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Jumping on to knowing your reasons why, I've discovered that to be also true in my business, because if you don't know your reason why you're doing that during those difficult times, you're going to say, you know what, I'm not doing that, and it happens to everybody. But your reasons why often pulls you to to your commitments. And I loved what you said earlier on about that.
Yeah. And I think it's also, when I'm working with, so I have worked with other creators who want to grow their channel.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a little bit of resistance because they say, well, I want to share my information. I want to share my skill. Yes, but why do you want to share your skill? Yes, but what's in it for you? And the reason why I push so hard for that is because I know how hard it is. And the thing is that if you're outputting all the time and you're just giving, and you're not getting what you need in return, it's not going to be sustainable.
That's true.
It just isn't. And then you're not able to give from the heart like you want to. And so I think it's a balance. It's yes, we want to share. And I also think to give yourself permission to not share everything. So that's also one of the mistakes I think I made, is that I was very willing to share so many of my tips. And really what I should have done is to hold some stuff back. Because in a way, I think I told my audience, well, here's all this free stuff. And when it came to me needing to monetize my channel, out of like, I need to monetize this because I can't keep doing this without monetizing it, then there's like a pushback from that. So I think it's important to get clear on the message that you want to give. Yes, give some free stuff. Absolutely, give value, but also have your paid offerings and get very comfortable. If you're not comfortable with it, get comfortable with saying, well, I'm giving this for free, and then this is my paid offering.
I get that. It's amazing. Honestly, Tracy, you're sharing some really good stuff, and I'm sure our audience are taking notes on that so that they can apply them in their business straight away. Now, once we cover the who, what, and where aspect of that, would you share with us maybe some technical aspects of running a successful YouTube? Maybe starting with the presentation style or presentation skills one has to develop.
Yeah. So, I've been doing this for a while, and public speaking is my thing. Some people say it isn't their thing, and you can go one of two ways of doing that. You can either say, okay, it really isn't my thing, and it causes me enormous stress.
Yeah.
And so my recommendation then is to partner with somebody that it is their thing. For me, it's like breathing. For me, it's something that I love to do, and it gets me fired up and excited. No matter how I'm feeling on the day, I just get in front of that camera and I can start feeling really great. But for other people, it's very, very hard. So if it is very, very hard and you feel like that's never going to change for you, then I would partner with somebody that it is easy for, or easier for, or you can go and get training and really learn. Now, I did both. So yes, I had the natural ability, but I also went and got training to take my presenting level to the next level. And then I even work with people, like I have a manager, and I'm just in the process of signing a contract with a broadcast agent. Now, if I'm working with a product that I'm not familiar with, or a product category that I'm not familiar with, then that agent is going to give me training. And it's important for me to say, yes, I need training, and to be open to the training. You're always learning. You're always learning to do things. So I think from a presenting level, you can go at it in different ways, but you do need to take a good look at, are you good on camera? Do you have the energy? Do people want to listen to your message? Because if that isn't the case, then it's going to be a very, very hard road. And it may be that you need to look in other areas.
Yeah. And the other way you can do that as well, maybe you can do like informational stuff where you can share your computer and educate people that way. That might be another route to take. and you don't have your face on camera on there. Well, we're coming toward the end of our time here, Tracy. Is there anything else that I've not asked you, but you feel business owners, especially right now, those who are looking to reinvent themselves and use YouTube or even Facebook Live like you're doing, they need to know about before they get into it?
Yeah, I think just start. Like, don't wait until you have the perfect camera and the perfect lighting and the perfect setup. I didn't have the perfect setup when I started. I just started. And it's okay to make mistakes. And video is very, very powerful. It's a very powerful way for your audience to connect with you and you with them. And just get started. Just do it and have some fun with it. It can really, really be amazing. It can be an amazing opportunity for you on so many levels.
Yes, amazing, truly amazing. Just get started. Just get started is the message there. And
just get started, yeah.
Yes, and you've done business. You've been in business for a long time. Would you share with our audience maybe one or two mindset or ideology that has kept you going all these years?
Yeah. Yeukai, for me, it's very much faith-based. So I felt led to come to New York. I feel led to do the work that I do. And I feel that grounds me. And it's actually not just about me. And on the days, and it's really hard, and I get very frustrated, when I come back to that, and I come back to that, my belief that God is using me in this space, and that sometimes the delays and the disappointments are part of my training process. Sometimes the delays and the disappointments are just not yet, and there's still work for me to do. And for me, that has kept me going just all the time. That is the one thing that doesn't fail to keep me going.
Wow. Faith. You and I are the same, on that, because faith is everything to me. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. It wasn't because of faith, because at the base level, I feel like I'm on purpose. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, helping other people, discover what they probably wouldn't have discovered if I did not bring our guest to them. So again, It's we're kindred spirit in there. And we want to thank you, Tracy, for being on the show. Now, for those who wants to carry on, maybe learn from you, or maybe use some of your services, where can they find you?
They can go to tracygoldfashiontips.com. And if you need to connect with me, feel free to send me an email through my website. I absolutely will reply. I'm very good on email. And then also my YouTube channel is tracygoldfashiontips.com. My Facebook is tracygoldfashiontips.com. You could just Google tracygoldfashiontips.com and you'll find me. So Tracy Gold Fashion Tips across the board, you'll find me pretty much, yeah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. We appreciate the work you're doing with the ladies. I was watching on YouTube, how you make ladies feel. It's fabulous. We love the work that you do here as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. With that said, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kai. It was great.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. I hope you took some notes. And again, if you've got any question, reach out in the group or send an email directly to Tracy. She'll be able to support you there. Listen, I believe in you and I believe in the work that you're trying to do.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yeukai.businessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.